Hi everyone, welcome to our first video on how to use some of the less commonly utilized features of Power BI. So we're going to jump into it really quick with the table. So obviously, when we think of tables, Excel obviously comes to mind. They do have their pretty well-known pivot table function, but we are going to explore some of the things you can do in Power BI with the table functionality. So first, we see that we only have one option right now. It's just to add values, so we're just going to start throwing all of our data into the table itself. Because this is more about some advanced features of Power BI, we're not going to go into how to bring data in and things of that nature. There's plenty of other videos out there. So first we see that it kind of does very closely resemble what an Excel table would look like. However, we're going to jump into what you can do with it in Power BI. So first of all, we'll go get some of our slicers and shrink them down so that we can have a few on the screen at a time. And using the slicers, hopefully we'll be able to determine which factors in the above table are critical or helpful in increasing overall adult literacy. So a little bit about the data I brought in. See, we have adult literacy, things like primary school, girls' primary school, just regions of the world, gross national income. This data was taken from the WHO website. It's all from 2005. It's a little bit old, but still should be useful for our purposes. So first of all, when we think about adult literacy and increasing it, we're going to filter here real quick to get high literacy at the top and low literacy is at the bottom. Thinking about literacy, a big thing that comes up is getting girls in primary school. So obviously our first slicer is going to take into account girls' primary school. Then this is a percent. Girls in primary school, so we can see the lowest is 27.5%, highest being 100. So we're going to watch the literacy column as we take it halfway. We'll try to get around 50%. So if you have 50% of your girls in primary school, we can see that your literacy rate really may not be that bad. We have some below 50 down here. We do have some at the top, obviously. We're going to clearly exclude a lot of the really low adult literacies by going 50% of your girls in school. However, we can see it may not be the end-all be-all of increasing literacy rates. So let's take this one from the bottom to about halfway. We see that yes, we did keep out the super low adult literacy percentages, but at the same time, it doesn't seem like just getting more girls in primary school is going to be a primary driver of increasing total adult literacy in a population. So we'll just get rid of that slider really quick. From here, our next thing may be to examine gross national per capita income in US dollars and determine if that is a big driver of literacy. So we'll come over, we'll find where it's at, gross national income, put it in our field. So we'll do the same thing again. We'll go kind of to halfway, see what happens. Okay, so this one, much smaller from the halfway point. Not very many countries coming in above 5,800, it appears. However, all the countries that do come in above 5,800 for their gross national income do appear to have pretty high literacy rates. 90.5 is not bad when you take into account all the countries we're dealing with. So we're going to shift the maximum to around that point, and then we're going to slowly whittle it down from here. So if we take it to maybe a third of the total, we can see that we do have some pretty high countries up here. Again, a good amount in the 90s. However, 99.6 for the Ukraine, with a per capita of $970. Here we have some for $950, $810. Even looking at gross national income really may not be, again, another key indicator of how likely it is that your country will have a high adult literacy. Although, in all fairness, down here at the bottom, the lower countries for gross national income, they are also the low adult literacy rates. But let's get it really small down here. We'll say sub 2,000 or thereabout. Again, still, we do have those countries with very high literacy rates coming in with pretty low gross national incomes. And down here, though, we still do have the countries that are worst off. So let's maybe get rid of this filter. Move on to another one. Now, let's filter from region just to see how big the change from region to region is. Now, obviously, we would expect America, the Americas region, not America the country, the American region, to be pretty high overall. We actually don't have the United States in here because of how the data has been filtered out. But overall, pretty good in the U.S. in terms of adult literacy compared to the rest of the world. Moving to Europe, same thing we expect, very high. And also countries and regions like Southeast Asia, very high in certain places, not so high in others. Moving over to the African region, we expect as well there'd be a lot of variance in these two regions. So we'll work with Africa and Southeast Asia, because we have some very high ones, we also have some very low. So then we're also going to filter for some other things. So let's check out girls' primary school when we're just looking at Africa and Southeast Asia. So we'll take it back to halfway, or about halfway. We'll get as close to 50 as we can. 51's close enough. Now looking down at the bottom, 41. So that's really not that high, clearly, when you have Maldives up here with 97%. However, it does seem to be that we did manage to exclude the lowest countries. So if we go from the lowest tier now to about the halfway point again, we do see that we get our really low countries. So it does appear that getting a large amount of girls, or a nice chunk of girls, at least over 50%, in primary school will have a positive effect on your adult literacy rates overall. So I hope you got a little bit of the idea of what the functionality of examining tables and Power BI could be, and that you may have a nice alternative if you didn't feel like using Excel, or just wanted an easier way to move through data live as you're doing a presentation, as opposed to just having people view static charts, which is more of the functionality of Excel.